Inside an apartment block in San Salvador beneath the shadow of the volcano that dominates the city skyline, 20 girls aged between 14 and 18 are in hiding, fearing for their lives. Recently deported to the country of their birth from the U.S. by Donald Trump as part of his evolving immigration clampdown, the teenagers are wanted dead by the street gangs that make El Salvador the most homicidal place on earth. Survival necessitates drastic measures when the Mara Salvatrucha, or MS-13, or its rival 18th Street gang want you murdered. First, the girls, branded traitors for daring leave El Salvador to set up home in America, are given radical makeovers, new haircuts and new clothes along with sunglasses that are rarely removed. Then they learn to talk differently, walk differently. All trace of their previous existence is erased. Travel is arranged using bulletproof cars with tinted windows. Finally, the safe house is placed on a short-term lease, the slightest intelligence that the gangs have identified its whereabouts and they're gone. The gangs want to kill them because these girls have specific testimony on the gangs. They want to silence them, but also punish them because they dared escape, said Maria Garcia, of ISNA, an organization that runs the secret safe house as part of the elaborate measures required to protect young women in a country controlled by its barbarous gangs. It is into this maelstrom of violence that the U.S. president intends to deport nearly 200,000 Salvadorans after he outraged the international community last week by announcing he would terminate their temporary protected status, then denounced El Salvador as a shithole. 25 years after the accords that ended the country's ferocious civil conflict, Trump's deportees will return to the world's most dangerous country not at war. As with most hostilities, women are routinely caught in the crossfire. Around 10 a day are subjected to violence and sexual assault, with many afraid to speak out. Others are silenced forever. El Salvador ranks among the world's deadliest countries for women. During 2016, 524 were killed, 1 in every 5,000, although such figures document only bodies taken to morgues and not those discovered in hidden dumping grounds. Those inside the safe house are the fortunate ones. Few of those deported from the U.S. or who have fled the gangs are granted such sanctuary in a country devoid of any state or witness protection program. Deportees from the U.S. face being killed or sexual violence. Most girls try to hide from the violence. The problem is that most don't have a place to go, said Salvadoran lawyer Laura Moran. Salvadoran lawyer Laura Moran, 30, who has fought many cases of sexual violence against women. Photographed Mark Townsend for The Observer speaking at a shopping center with heavy security in San Salvador. Julia, 19, describes how to navigate life on the run from the gangs. The crucial step requires resurfacing in territory controlled by the rival gang. It's because the gangs rarely communicate with each other. The trick is to materialize without suspicion. You should have deleted Facebook, everything about you. You start all over, she said, intently scanning passers-by. If successful, prosaic but vital measures are adopted to stay alive. Each time Julia leaves home she carries $2 in change in case a gang member randomly stops her on the street and demands a gift. Otherwise they will take your cell phone, and if you are not carrying your cell phone then they might kill you. She never carries ID. If a gang member discovers you are from rival turf they might punish you, again by death. And always scan the footwear of those nearby. Nike Cortez trainers, says Julia, are the preserve of the 18th Street, with Adidas Concha worn by MS-13. Yet identifying members is increasingly fraught, amplifying the risk for the girls and women in hiding. The stereotype of tattoo-smothered thugs is gradually being challenged. Many now wear suits. Some work in government. I could be talking to one anytime. You cannot trust the authorities. The police are also infiltrated with informants, said Julia. Walking in San Salvador is dangerous, but public transport is notorious for attacks. The number 44 bus traverses the capital and is among its most important, yet Julia and her friends never use it for fear of robbery or sexual assault. Also off limits is wearing shorts, skirts or tight-fitting clothes. Julia and her friends ugly by themselves. You don't want the gangs to think about you, ever. Even so, evading the gangs of El Salvador can seem futile. Boys aged between 8 and 12 are recruited as lookouts and patrol street corners, the ojos, eyes, of MS-13 and 18th Street. Girls live in dread of the moment a gang member decides she is his girlfriend. If they choose you, you cannot say no. If you say no to sex then they will kill you, said Julia. Garcia, who has counseled dozens of gang victims, has identified a structural approach to rape. One girl is chosen by the Palabrero leader, and she is only his, but the other girls can be shared between 20 to 25 gang members. The girls cannot say no, they are forced to have sex. On the north side of the city, behind a reinforced iron door and two men with shotguns, Sylvia